Hey, good evening, everybody. I figure we'll skip that time lapse and get right down to business. We do have a new tropical system coming across Florida, surprisingly. We're now into the P's of the hurricane list. Of course, what we have here is actually a tropical storm. It's Philippe, and there it is, 35 knots. Very high central pressure, only 1002 millibars, so that's not even what I would call that is probably a mid-range tropical storm. It's not quite anything up to a Cat 1 hurricane. But here's the track, expecting that to pass over Miami and the Everglades sometime tonight. And that's looking to be about 2 a.m. when it passes over Miami there. At this time, 8 p.m., we've got that just southwest of Key West. And here's what it looks like on the infrared satellite imagery. So it looks like quite a big mess there. So we've got the center of the circulation right there. We can see it's got a lot of dry air mixed in with that, and the convective elements way out to the southwest or the southeast and more to the north there over Florida. Here's a look at the radar from Miami. Looks like a lot of disorganized convection. The system is way down out to the southwest, maybe about, I would think about 100 to 150 miles southwest of Key West. But in any case, mostly just showers and thunderstorms in that area. Okay, let's work up the synoptic scale picture where the fronts are. And it looks like we definitely have one in the southeast U.S. Lots of cold air advection across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and that's kind of bounded on the south side by that line right there. So the leading edge of the front looks like that's way out in the central Gulf, possibly extending all the way down past Veracruz into Mexico, and then it's banked up against the mountains, maybe out towards Chihuahua and out towards eastern Arizona like that. So if we draw in the fronts, I should develop a good frontal overlay tool. That would really help out. I'm going to look at doing that. Anyway, yeah, it's also going to have a corresponding warm front. The center of the cyclone looks like that's over Georgia. So, I don't know, I'd probably be inclined to go something like that due to this troughing here that we see. And obviously the air mass source region in this area off the Carolinas coast, that appears to be coming from this polar high over the Maritimes. So this will be moving up the coast tonight and into tomorrow. So we're going to be expecting rain in the Carolinas. Why does my phone always go off when it get on? Okay, hang on a second. Okay, and then looking up north, we've got a new Alberta clipper and lots of cold air advection. Very, very strong in this area right here. So Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and British Columbia getting quite a front, and we can see that troughing there around Prince Rupert up to Juneau, Ketchikan, and on up further north towards Skagway. So there's the front. And then the corresponding warm front that appears to be in the high plains like that right there. And then the remainder of that is going to be a occluded front. So there we go. So a new fresh polar outbreak on its way south, and that'll be blasting into the northern plains and the northern Rockies tomorrow, and then further south on Monday into the central U.S. Things look pretty quiet up north otherwise. Actually, it looks like there's quite a bit of cold air locked up there in the northern Canadian region. And I see a little bit of a pressure gradient up there, so there could be another cold air mass getting its act together up there. And then we see the next system. Looks like that's pretty far out to the west. Way out there south of the Aleutian Islands. Okay, let's see. Hang on a second. Let me switch to the displays here. Okay, there we go. And we'll continue on and look at the fronts. Does look like we have a bit of a frontal boundary up through Pennsylvania, through the Appalachians. Then we do pick up the main cold front. So I'm thinking that warm front could be further up north, maybe up in this area here, the northeast U.S. I can see the temperatures go from about 22 to 21 in Florida to 21 in the Carolinas, then 19, 18. Very, very slow drop-off, and then a rapid drop-off up north. So that would give me an excuse to correct that even further north. So maybe I would go with something like that for a cold front, and then our warm front right there in New England. And then the other system that's, for some reason, they don't analyze the data up here. I don't know what the reason for that is. But there's the front right there. We can see the theta gradient in Alberta. And then the warm front that definitely shows up there in the northern high plains. All right, so that's the work up there of all the fronts. And there's our system there, Philippe Tropical Storm. And let me take a look at the chat, make sure everything's looking good. Let's see, we got Suam there. Frost tonight in southern Indiana. Michael Burrell. He's happy he could catch the weathercast tonight. Temperature dropping quickly in Atlanta. And we got Kathy Campbell-Wallace, Carl Berghoff. Took some pictures of the snow. Kevin McKinney is here. Tom J. in Las Cruces. Cool there with a high of 60. Justin Pulliam here. And Ryan Toomey's watching the cells there in Florida. Fun with Tech is here. Burl H. Ryan mentioning Tropical Storm Philippe running quickly over Florida there. Several squall bands producing tornadoes and waterspouts. Just Sarah Wood says it's cloudy and cool there in northern Indiana. Mike Bexley had some snow this morning in central Ohio. Impressive. And Mike Bexley noticing some buffering. Buffering in A10. I can't imagine what's causing the buffering. I had my I had this thing playing back here, this preview window. YouTube gives you a little preview window, and that was rolling for a while, and I just shut that off. So hopefully maybe that'll help a little bit. But who knows? I may have to get a network monitor and see if something else is eating up bandwidth. Okay, so let's head into the forecast. I guess we can look at the northern plains where we've got that front that's going to be coming southward overnight into tomorrow. Okay, so there's the air mass in advance of the front. There's South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado. And we can see we've got northwesterly flow, but it's kind of a warm downslope northwesterly flow there. And even we got 60s to 70s in Montana. And then moving forward, let's see, that's tonight right there. It's going to be very cold there in the Midwest, 20s in Iowa. And then for tomorrow, yeah, it looks like we've got the pressure gradient in place over South Dakota and Wyoming. So that's the new front coming southward into Nebraska during the day. things warm up, and you see the very strong downslope there in Kansas. Temperatures up to about 73, 74 around Russell. And there's the front. And this front does look a little bit mild for this time of year. I don't know, it's probably about average for this time of year. But anyway, by tomorrow night, by the time the webcast is done, it's going to be coming into Kansas and into Colorado Springs right there. And we can see the front fighting the higher terrain of Wyoming. There's some mountain passes and mountain ranges in here, so it doesn't make as much progress to the southwest in that area. And that kind of character, that kind of gives you an idea of what the depth of the cold air mass is. If it's a very deep, potent air mass that will rapidly cross southwest and end up in Utah and the Four Corners. So by tomorrow night, let's see here, by dawn, the front's going to be coming into Oklahoma City, way off to the south part of the chart there. And let's pick that up with the southern plains. Okay, for tonight, looks like, very cold night in the Ozarks, Missouri, Kansas. This is all below freezing, even down to Memphis. And we're going to see 30s in parts of North Texas, too. And then for tomorrow, we should see a rapid warm-up. You see that westerly flow? That means a lot of downslope conditions. So by afternoon, we max out almost near 80 degrees in western Oklahoma. Quite a change there, warming up from near 32 up to almost 70. And then the front enters the picture. There it is coming in tomorrow night. And then by morning, that'll be coming up on Oklahoma City and Amarillo. And let's see what happens during the day Monday. Looks like the southward movement is kind of checked. Also, we have an inverted trough in this area. Most of the cyclogenesis way out to the west. So we're fighting that counterclockwise tendency around the synoptic scale low, which means the front cannot advance southward as it was doing previously. So we have to wait for this to kind of resolve itself. And then for Monday during the evening, it looks like the cyclone is right there over DFW. So the synoptic scale low looks kind of like that right there. There's the low pressure right over DFW. So what we have is kind of a warm front, kind of like this, becoming stationary front, and then that becomes kind of a cold front like that. And then the rest of this part here, this is all a cold front. And we can see in the mountain passes there in New Mexico around Albuquerque, looks like possibly some canyon winds just east of the city there. Coming up on Santa Fe, the mountain pass just southeast of there. So possibly kind of an active night on Monday night as that cold air comes into the Rio Grande Valley. And let's see here, and that's going to pass through the remainder of Texas probably on Tuesday. And let's check out the southeast U.S. Well, there's that front being hung up there around Atlanta, down through just east of Pensacola, out into the Gulf. And that's the current picture right there. And down to the south, we can see the backed winds near Philippe. And let me see if I can zoom this out a little bit. It's probably about the best I can do there. Okay, then for tomorrow morning, yeah, there's Philippe right there showing up around 2 or 3 in the morning, right off the coast of Miami there. So it looks like winds will be coming around to the north there in Miami. Plenty of rain as that passes through. And then the cold front will advance kind of in the wake of that. Then during the day, cold front passes through Florida. And then by evening, Look at that, highs there in the 60s and near 70s. So that'll be a big change there for Florida. And then up in the Atlanta area, highs in the upper 40s. And then for the day on Monday, high pressure settling in. So it'll be kind of a cold morning across Georgia and Alabama. Some freezing weather around Atlanta and around Raleigh, Durham. And then we get the westerly winds kick in. That'll bring in some of that downslope air over Texas. And then things will be kind of quiet until the next front arrives from the north. All right, so let's look at the medium range picture. Okay, so down to the south we can see Philippe moving up the coast. And then there it is crossing around Miami tonight. There's 2 in the morning. And you can see the very potent cold air mass there over the Midwest. Then for tomorrow night, there's that front we talked about coming in to the Central Plains. Then for Monday on the webcast then, cold front coming into Texas. And then for Tuesday, looks like we got rain developing in Texas. And you can see with this inverted trough here, south of the inverted trough, we've got the Gulf still wide open. And that's going to advect right over the top of the cold air mass, which means isentropic lift. And lots of clouds and rain. Pretty common in the fall in Texas and Oklahoma. Okay, so that'll continue moving eastward as the system moves out, and then things really come together up in the northern plains for Friday. This weekend should be pretty active up there. So we got high pressure there over Ontario, very cold high, producing lots of upslope flow across the Dakotas like that. And then back here we just have kind of a stationary front in place. New system coming onto the coast in California. There it is right there. Looks like rain for the San Francisco, Sacramento, Redding area for around the 4th and 5th. And that'll move onshore into the Rockies. Looks like a very active system out in the western U.S. Looks like the cold front will be somewhere in there on Sunday. This will be about a week from now. And there it is, emerging out into the plains. But the Gulf has not been open for very long. You can see over the previous couple of days, very little moisture advection onto the Texas Gulf Coast. So looks like that system in the Central Plains is going to be kind of dry initially. And then the Gulf starts opening up a little bit around Monday the 6th. And that's enough to get some showers going in Missouri, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And that looks like quite a slug of cold air coming in on the backside, possibly blizzard conditions there in Manitoba. And there it goes. Yeah, look at that. That looks like quite a winter storm for that area, possibly extending all the way down to Duluth. But the main punch of this is going to be up through Canada. And then we get up to the 7th and 8th. Looks kind of quiet throughout the U.S. And then we see much lower thicknesses on the western U.S. out in this area here. So something is coming together out in this region. I don't see a well-developed low or anything at the surface, but it looks like there's probably a cold front somewhere in here. And lots of activity going on on the backside. This is where we typically have anafronts. If you look that up on Google, anafronts are very common in the western U.S., and this is exactly what we have out in this area around the 8th. So lots of weather going on behind the front, and then emerges into the from the Rockies into the high plains around the 9th and 10th. And we end up with our next system right there. coming in from the Pacific into the central U.S. So this will be active from Colorado and Kansas up to the Great Lakes for the 9th and 10th. And there we go. Fast-moving system. And then we get to the very end. Cold high pressure moving in. And then we have lots of low pressure up in Canada. That'll keep the more intense Arctic air from moving southward. Whenever we have low pressure like that, that tends to keep it locked up there in Canada. So we should see things become kind of mild around the middle of the month, it looks like, until that moves past. So around the 12th or 13th, probably kind of mild. And yeah, on into the 14th and 15th until we get our next push coming in from the northwest there. But that's way out past these charts here. Okay, that's about all I have for tonight. One last look through the chat here. Okay, yeah, Mike Bexley mentioning Wireshark. I've got that. I probably need to play around with that a little bit. So yeah, Fun with Tech reminds all this lagging can be fixed if we get enough Patreon donations to cover faster internet. And yeah, there's the Patreon page. Patreon donations are greatly appreciated. And let me see if I can pull up my list here. Give me just a second. And yeah, I always want to take the time to thank people: Ken Bearden, Harold Rose, Keith DuPont, Guido Flock, Lloyd McCarter, Steve Witt, Robert Vermillion, Jeremy Mattingly, Ronnie Chalfont, David Moore, Sarah Wood, John Buma, Burl Henry, Alexi Walsh, Tom Johnson, Michael O'Neill, Thomas Fortner, Kevin McKinney, Jason Fenley, Theodore Kemper, Guido Flock, Ryan Toomeys, John Huntington, and Robert Terrell. So I appreciate all of you who have contributed to the channel. Not all of those names are active, and some of them are only like $3 to $5, but some of you have gone above and beyond, and that is appreciated. So hopefully we will get to a point where we can make this channel bigger and better. And who knows, I might actually move to the city and get some faster internet there sometime. So you never know what the future might hold. All right, so that's about all I've got, and I appreciate y'all watching the channel. And hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Take care, and thanks for watching.